I backed up, and she's not here, I'm outside, she'll be outside walking or something in the yard. I mean, she'll be out in the yard at midnight. Monkey with the fire, she's a night person. More
have you ever left when she has not been able to be able to find her? Have you ever left to work before without having found her first?
I have, yes, but she's I've been, gone, and usually, I mean, it's happened all the time, but I'm not, a couple of times, not that it's really unusual. No, she doesn't work, she's on disability.
For what?
Depression and stuff, the guy is here.
Who's the psychiatrist?
Oh, hang on here.
Denise Grafton? When?
And we were there until you have to be there at 3, and then that's a prescription that you get the bill that I have to get,
Where did you go in with her?
Yeah.
And what did she say?
She had surgery. I came across me, getting banged on for about 3.5 to 4 months, and then they did a reversal. And after that, she was sort of, down. She thought she should feel a lot better than she did.
When was it reversed?
Late October, if I remember right.
Of 2012.
Yeah.
What kind of meds was she taking?
She was on Xanax.
Is this the whole list of her medications?
No.
Could I see that yet?
Sure.
Thank you.
I got it.
Is this a new prescription?
Which one is that? Yeah.
Extra amphetamine?
Yeah, that's the one too.
Okay. This is new.
Yeah. Well, she's been taking them all the time. It's one that we got to get refilled.
Oh, so it's just renewed.
Renewed, yeah.
So, did you fill it yesterday?
No, I didn't. She has some left yet.
Okay, well, how many did she have left?
I think the bottom is still here. I got to look.
It's 4 capsules. 4 capsules for the day. And this was at the one site.
That wasn't
No, I can't find now. And her test is gone too, but that was due to be refilled.
That has an automatic, but 6 months renewal thing on it. And that was due to be refilled Monday. Yes, Monday or Tuesday. Is when the
Monday?
yeah, Monday or
So
Tuesday.
how many did you take Xanax? Did you
She
take
was taking 4 a day.
Xanax and, or was it Xanax this stuff, but that's another name for it?
No, the Xanax here. That's Xanax is this. She was taking that. And that one. This one here, she was not taking anymore. That one was, this is an older one.
Okay.
This she's off of.
This here is because she's allergic to bee stings. That's
Sure.
a legal thing.
That's what it's alprazolam.
That's his Xanax.
Oh, that's his name.
Okay.
Seroquel?
That's one sleeping pill at night. She was on that.
And how many would she have had left? Or does she, is that still here?
No.
None of them?
That is due to be filled. This one.
How does she normally keep her meds? Is there one bag, one purse, one area?
Yeah, in one drawer.
Could you show us that drawer?
So there's about 4 drawers in there. I'll show it to you. But
Yeah, I think we should get these off the
I gotta see if I can find it. I know the bigger plastic is off. The documents are off of that. That's an old list of what she was on. Now, I just don't know where. She used to keep them in this drawer here. Right here. But they're not in here. I know that's where she kept them. Now, I looked in every other.
Is this your room?
This is our room, yes.
Okay.
Up here. Anywhere.
When was the last time you've seen where she kept her meds?
I saw them up here just the other day. You know, I mean, I've seen them here.
And does she keep them right in the brown bottle?
Yeah, they were in the brown bottles.
Okay.
And now they're not there?
No, they're not there.
Pretty much anything on that list is not there now.
Not there, no.
Okay. Is that unusual?
Not really. Sometimes they'll be there, and then every once in a while I'll find them on the kitchen table. So, you know, bring them in here, and you look in here once and see. No. No.
Have you looked through the house at all for her medication?
Yes, we've looked, and we've been all over. But
Is that unusual that you can't find her medication?
not really, not unusual. This she's off of, that she's off of, that was just for, that's it. And this is the same thing here, that she isn't taken. This she's off of, she's been off of that for a couple months, few months.
What is that for?
That was like a depressive pill.
Okay.
That was just an iron capsule after the surgery she had to take.
Yeah.
She's off of that.
Did she still take the hydrocodone?
No, the doctor took her off of that too. That's pain pill.
Seroquel?
Seroquel,
She takes?
yeah. And the Xanax.
So she takes Seroquel and she takes the other.
Okay, got it.
That was her sleeping pill at night. The Xanax. The Abilify she's off.
Yeah. But she's taking them.
Yeah, that's an energy pill is what it is.
Okay. So it's kind of like an upper.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that she didn't have to take, I don't know if it states on there. It did on a prescription. She didn't have to take them all the time either. It was, if she got up in the morning and felt good, you know,
Well, it doesn't say as needed on here.
it did on the bottom. I know it did. Let me look at it. I know it might be another.
Now, also in the report it says that Stacy told the officer that she was thinking about suicide.
She attempted suicide once about, oh, gotta be 7 years ago, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
She overdosed on, they figured it was aspirin.
Okay. Who found her and what happened?
Her son found her, and they took her to St. Mary's Hospital. Wes found her
Where did he find her?
in the kitchen floor, not here, that's where we live in Flats.
Okay. Are either of her parents alive?
No. No.
Any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, but she doesn't have any contact with them at all.
How come?
They haven't been in contact for years and years. Don't get along, didn't get along at all. I really
She has a brother and 2 sisters that I know of. I really never,
Are they from the area?
I think they live in Green Bay, as far
What was
as
her maiden name?
Allen.
But no contact with her.
No.
Any chance that she wrote a note?
No, I looked all over for a note. I looked here, I looked in the bedroom, I looked all over. No.
Nothing in the mail?
No.
You said it's not unusual for her meds not to be around?
Yeah.
Tell me why that's unusual.
No, not laying out the open. One time she'll have them in the drawer, and then the next time she might have them in the bathroom.
But you said you looked everywhere and you can't find
I
them.
can't find them.
And you said that that's not unusual.
That's not really unusual. You know, I mean, well, I just don't go looking for them. You know what I mean? If I see them, they're there. If they're not,
Now, did she leave her purse?
yeah, purse is here.
Can you see that, please?
I rang the number he gave and that phone rang.
What?
I rang the number that he gave for her in this phone.
Now, the one daughter is just here left.
Are these prescription or just readers?
They're my prescription. But she had a new pair. Yes, this was her old pair.
Okay.
And she had a new pair I had made for her because these here were broke and
Okay, I'm just gonna look through here just to kind of see if we can get an idea of her thoughts or plans.
James, how long does it take for you to get to work?
About 25 minutes.
And what time do you think you went to work today? What time did you get to work?
Today I got to work at about 10 to 6, 20 to 6.
Okay, so 5:40 to 5.
Somewhere in there, yeah. 50. You can check out of it real easy because I got a card. I got a swiper. That swiper to get in, open the gate to let me in.
Perfect. And what time did you get home?
I got back here this afternoon.
Well, what time did you get done with work first?
I left Fort Howard right around 1 o'clock, I think, or GP. I still call it Fort Howard. I've been there for 27 years.
And got home about what time?
1:30, 20 to 2, right? And then I call shortly after that.
And then you left for work at what time?
In the morning,
Yep.
a little after 5, quarter after 5, somewhere there. I don't know. I didn't really pay that much attention.
Sure.
I went up and down. I left a little bit earlier than I usually do because I took a different way,
Sure.
you know, another road. Like I said, I went up and down
Did you
every.
tell anyone this morning that you couldn't
I
find
told Wes, his son.
That's your son?
Yeah, that's all I told, yeah. And like I said, I didn't think it was all.
Now, Sergeant Ehrenstein, there's a male voice asking Mr. Prokopovitz questions. Is that your voice?
It is. I am having a hard time hearing the recording from my vantage point, but I'm very familiar with the recording, and that is my voice.
Okay. And if you were asking Mr. Prokopovitz about a time frame that he had that morning, is that significant?
Yes, it is.
And why do you do that?
I'm trying to establish what is the time frame of the events so that I can understand when certain things occurred. I can also then later corroborate certain pieces of information, and I'm hoping that that information will help me find Victoria and ultimately lead to the truth of what occurred.
So the focus when you're asking those questions is to determine a time frame in reference to Victoria and her whereabouts. Is that right?
That is my primary concern at that point in time. I want to know when she was last seen, when she was last heard from, where do I need to start looking, those kind of things.
Okay. For the record, Your Honor, we stopped it at 17:21, and now we're going to continue.
And you said that she was a night person. But yet in the morning, sometimes when you go to work, she's out and about.
She'd be up and about.
So it's not unusual for her to get up that early?
No, not that, no. But like I say, she is, I'll be sleeping at night, and all once 10:30, 11 o'clock, the vacuum cleaner starts going, and, you know, I mean, she does a lot of her work work at night, I mean, that's what she does.
Do you consider 4 or 5 in the morning at night, or is that in the morning?
When she does her work,
Yeah, you said that she's a night person, that means that
she's up, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, she'll be up and cleaning house, dusting something, or that's the way she always was, ever since I knew her. She would do the wash at night, or she'd go out in the yard here, turn the yard light on, so she could putz with the flowers at 11 o'clock at night. That's just the way she was. I mean, that's
You said that she's been gone before, she's been missing before?
not missing, but she'd go for a walk. She's a walking person. She likes to walk. And she'd walk.
Which
But she'd always go back.
there would be never a time where you would have to go look for her?
No. Not
What's the
right.
longest period of time that she's ever been gone where you were worried about where she might be?
Half hour.
So, is this the longest period of time?
This is the law, yeah. This is the law.
Does she remember that or not?
Well, does she ever not carry a wallet?
No.
Sorry,
Does
nurse.
she have a driver's license?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, right, okay.
She had a coat in there, maybe tucked in something in
She no
there.
longer has this phone.
Because we found her
Thanks.
when the other officers were here. Asked about her first.
Oh,
And
calling for someone else.
From Mark. I get to the office.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, no, but no credit card, you said?
No,
So she wouldn't have jumped on a plane and went?
no credit card.
Was she, did she like to travel? Did she ever
No,
travel?
not really.
What do you mean, not really?
Not traveling.
No eagle hurt.
When she got
No eagle hurt.
Okay.
When she got divorced from her first husband, she used to drive a lot. This is what she told me. I didn't know her then. I didn't meet her until a couple of years after the divorce, you know what I mean?
When was she divorced?
Oh, God. We've been together 20-some years. She was in her late 20s, I think, when she got divorced. I wouldn't know the exact.
What year did you get married?
I know you're supposed to remember them.
Yeah, that's kind of important.
Yeah, really definitely.
You've been married 22 years?
Yeah, 23, 24 years almost. Be 24 this fall.
Do you have children together?
No. She didn't want the children. She had hysterectomy and everything before I knew her.
Okay, but she has 2 children?
So 2 girls and a boy.
And who has them?
Stacy and Martha.
Stacy what?
Stacy Deer, and it's D-E-E-R, Deer.
Yep.
And Marcia Lawrence, L-O-I-T-Z, I think it is.
Where did she live?
They both live in Green Bay.
Was Marcia contacted?
Yes, Marcia was just here. She just left maybe 20 minutes before you got here.
Okay.
And I was on the phone with Stacy. I talked to Stacy.
And is it Victoria or is it Vicky?
Vicky, that's who she
Did
is.
Vicky talk to Marcia lately?
Not that I know of.
And Stacy?
You'd have to ask if she, on the phone and that, I don't
I
know.
don't see Stacy's phone number. Do you have it? Or does she have it in her phone?
I got it.
Can you check the contacts in her phone?
Yeah, do whatever you want. You're free to look at it. I think I got it.
Who am I looking for?
Check for Stacy Deer or Marcia Lawrence. And also check to see when the last phone call was.
Let me see.
Last dial call.
Which one you looking for? Stacy?
Yep.
I have Marcia and Andy. more here.
Stacy Beard,
Is Stacy, no, we're on. 3-2, mixing the back out in here.
I have Marcia Sell as well, 3. Who else am I looking for besides Marcia?
Stacy Beard,
Okay. Got the Crisis Center here. Shane, CVS Pharmacy. Velvet. Have the Andy Beard, if you want that.
is Stacy's husband Andy Olson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Ahmed.
That was a psychiatrist, but it's not anymore. He left. That's what she got Dr. Brockman.
Stacy, you said we're looking for? Okay, I got it. Stacy Sell.
And Wesley?
Her son.
That's Stacy's work as well. Is she the kind of person that would text message or not?
No, not really. Once in a great, great while, I think she texted me maybe twice, and the only reason, I don't even know how to work it, so, you know, when I get it.
Okay. Stacy Sell was called today at 1:57, or received a call, so
I think,
you probably want going out and I'm going in, right?
Right.
I think the officer tried calling it on her phone because they had their phone.
Yeah.
I had going for 2026, you have nothing coming in. I mean, going out. Does she use her phone often or not?
No.
Okay, let me tell you when the last time going out call was. I have Stacy Sell with a question mark at 8:56 a.m. on Friday.
Friday, what's the date?
19th.
For the record, the state is stopping this at 2542 briefly. Sergeant Ehrenstein, at the time that you're speaking to Mr. Prokopovitz about Vicky's phone, you appear to be asking a lot about telephone calls on the phone. Why are you doing that?
I'm trying to determine if Victoria had any communication with anyone using her cellular phone.
Because, again, at this juncture, what law enforcement's looking at is where she is and attempts to find her.
Yes, ma'am.
And with regard to her phone, based on your training and experience, is that typically a repository for people of information about their whereabouts or what they're doing?
Yes, it provides a lot of information to follow up on any contacts or anybody that may be the next logical person to speak with.
Now, the phone that you were dealing with respect to Victoria, what type of phone was that? Do you recall?
I do.
What was it?
It's a flip phone.
Okay. With regard to a flip phone, is that something different than a smartphone?
Yes, it has generally a lot less information that can be gleaned from it, such as internet and those kind of things. It's much more basic in nature.
And on this occasion, now the phone has been recovered inside the residence?
Yes, it has.
So insofar as some of your cases, particularly with smartphones, do you have the ability to attempt to track somebody's whereabouts with respect to that?
Yes, you can.
And with regard to a flip phone, were you going to be able to do that in this case?
You can utilize phone records from the cell phone provider. You can also utilize information from the phone itself. As it relates to the device itself, it's highly limited in nature as far as what you can do with tracking purposes.
So for purposes of flip phone, you're indicating that it's different than something you might have found at a more fancier smartphone?
Yes, it's much more limited in the amount of data I can glean from it.
But with respect to the telephone itself, even on a flip phone, Are you going to attempt to get forensics regarding the calls and who she's having contact with?
You can. The technology was much more limited back in 2013 as far as the extraction and the way forensics work in that regard. So it was much more manual in nature in 2013, which is what was done.
So you can still see her incoming calls?
Yes, you
You
can.
can see her outgoing calls?
Yes, you can.
And you can also see the date and time of them?
Yes, you can.
We'll now proceed, Your Honor.
So question mark actually on the 19th for Stacy. There's a question mark for Stacy still on the 18th. I don't know, question mark, I don't know if that's in or out.
Yeah.
What time was the other one on the 18th?
Right, you don't have to work all that stuff. Because
1:22 p.m. on the 18th, there's a question mark. Yeah. And then there's question marks before that, but there's really only a handful of calls all month, and they're all in, there's nothing going on.
Missed call?
I don't know what a question mark means.
I don't.
The first call that I actually see going out was the gym, February 28th at 6:04 a.m.
That's me.
That's you.
Probably, yeah. Probably me.
Do you think she killed herself?
I don't know. I hope to God not.
I know we all hope that, but I mean, thinking back now,
It's possible.
is it likely?
I don't know. Things were going good. You know, like I say, she went through a tough 8-9 months, but things were, you know, I mean, we get better grumpies once in a while, like everybody does, but man,
Did you have any arguments this past?
no.
Did you ever notice, did she ever give away any of her stuff lately?
No.
No?
Everything, you look, it's all
Yeah,
her dolls and everything, and I mean, that's all that stuff that she had painted and stuff, them statues, and I mean, she likes stuff, and I keep telling her that to get a bigger counter because we got no counter space.
yeah. But you said that was she taking care of herself? Was she washing her face?
Yeah. Even the doctor commented when we came in, I mean, I was surprised. I got home yesterday early, so I could clean up and go to the doctor. I got home about 1:30. Usually I got to get her going to get there at leaving time. I walked in the door at 1:30, hair all done, all dressed up, makeup on. Yeah, ready to go.
And that's not normal, usually after?
No. Other times she's been that way, and then there might be one time you'll come home and she's having a bad day
Yeah.
or whatever, and I go, hey, come on, we gotta get going. Well, and she'll, but I mean, usually she would be either cleaned up or in the process of getting dressed or getting ready to go or whatever, yeah.
Does she have any good friends that she would
Not,
visit with or with her?
she had one at work at Super Rods there, but she hasn't talked to her for, I don't know how long or called her. They sort of drew apart after, you know, when she quit working. She
Did
hasn't,
she quit work?
oh God, it's got to be 2-3 years ago, 2.5, 3, I don't remember exactly. It's at least 2 years, if not longer.
What are some of the, where did she walk? On the road all the time?
Yeah, she'd walk around here in the yard too. I mean, she'd walk down behind the sheet shed, and that was all concrete over there, tearing that down now, but you know, it was all concrete. She'd walk out in the yard and...
Did she ever walk along fence lines or anything like that?
No. Well, if she'd walk up the road here to Brookside, and go down Brookside. Sometimes she'd go down the trail, other times
What trail is that?
Mountain Bay Woods
Oh,
over here.
uh-huh.
And other times she just go for a walk up and come back and, you know, I mean, not, sometimes 15, 20 minutes.
So are her shoes here?
Her tennis shoes are here. The pair of shoes I couldn't find are the ones that she had on when we went to the doctor. And they were sort of like not a high heel, but a big square
Yeah.
bar with a heel on.
But a closed toe?
Yeah, closed up.
Here's an incoming text message on the 18th from Stacy. Hi Mom, Wes, let me know your phone is back on. You still don't answer. All is well. Wondering how things are going. Call me between your voicemail box is full. Won't accept messages.
That's the way she is. She'll get where she won't answer the phone. You know. Certain people she will, but and some of her daughters were real close.
Yeah.
And now they're married, got their own families and everything, you know, it's sort of not, I don't want to say, how do I say,
Look,
drifted apart, you know, I mean, they go up north, they got a cabin up
do their
there.
own thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay, it says in the report, she really didn't have any access to weapons.
no. Well, that's that, that's what she does when they check them and they're locked, I mean, they're here.
Any ropes?
No, nothing.
Is the farm area, this is not your farm?
No, you can put that. He's here, when I listen to you, they talk to him.
Is
Could be, I know, yeah.
He's got a girlfriend and...
He's married now, yeah.
Yeah.
Scotty Simmons is his, son.
Now, it says that, Stacy had said that, you can make a comment about a month ago saying the next case that it's going to be enforced, no one will understand.
She never said that to you. I know she was really depressed about this surgery, that's all I can tell you. Because she did have problems with control of the balls, and every once in a while she had an accident. Really blow her mind, you know, she really, why did I go through all this? I mean, and I doctored her all the while, I did all the dressing changes and everything. You know, they don't stitch you up anymore, it's all over, you gotta pack them, and,
Yeah.
I mean, I
But
did
she
it.
wasn't diagnosed with like fatal...
No, the doctor, nothing tested. You know, the tumor results, the doctor said they got it off, everything is gone.
Okay,
It's-
you got a cancer too.
Yes, so they catches, but she was supposed to go back now. Well, they're going to call it 6 months from the last time we were there, which was a couple months ago, I think it's good. She's supposed to go over there, I didn't remember. And they were going to call for her 6-month checkup. But then it would be every 6 months or every year, just come back again.
So her car is in here?
No car.
She doesn't have a car? She had no motor transportation?
No motor transportation, that's all.
No bicycle? Nothing?
No.
So she would be within walking distance unless somebody picked her up.
Somebody picked her up.
Have you spoken with everybody that she knows on a friendly basis?
Pretty much around here. I mean, we really, I was telling you, we've got some friends. You know, I mean, people, we see them maybe once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, once a month, or that we've known.
If you had an opportunity to call anybody that would be friendly enough to pick her up?
Listen, nobody, like I say, nobody really.
I think that maybe that would be helpful for us if you clearly know her friends better than he would. You know, if you're able to call and just think and maybe go through your phone.
The only,
And just let people know that maybe that you're looking for her.
the only one I could even think of would be that girl Sarah that she was pretty close with. And Sarah would tell me if she
Sarah who?
I don't even know the last name. All I know is that they're super loud in the deli. That's all I know. But the first thing I did was look at her phone, see if there was any strange numbers, going out. And then I checked mine right away.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Did you call her?
No, I didn't. First, and then I looked at my phone to see if there was any strange numbers, something
I have super runs as well here.
a number that I didn't recognize or a
Two
name.
numbers, 822 they both start with. First one is 7667, and the second one is 3824.
They say all these guys are from at work or
Where
like,
did Sarah call?
that was the first thing I looked at.
What's the number? The first one I gave you.
Work, driver. That's what it's called. I tried to call her. Is it? Good. You know how to use it better than I do because I don't.
Who are Wally and Bonnie?
That's my son and his wife. But yeah, I was just going to call him and let him know what was going on. He didn't answer. I don't know. He got struck for a living. That's his cell phone.
660? Who's one that?
660-2952. That's our shop operator out of the landfill.
You own the landfill, or?
No, it's Georgia Pacific landfill up out of the airport. And I run loader down at Georgia Pacific over the trucks that all up to the landfill.
Okay. So you would have loaded trucks and took them out there and figure out.
I load them, that's all I do, I stay in the loader all day. I take care of about 8 trucks that I gotta load down there. Because
Who's Mike?
Mike Shue, I call him in the morning to let him know what I need for trucks, if I need extra trucks or not. He's him at work.
So you had phone with me this morning?
Yeah, that's when I tried to call, and I tried to call again.
619-3448.
Yeah, that's her number.
It shows her number is, this is Stacy now.
Now, Sergeant Ehrenstein, at some point in the course of this interview, is there a telephone call received by Stacy Deer?
There's a telephone call that comes in, that's correct.
Yeah, because law enforcement had reached out to her, and now she's calling back at some point?
That's correct.
At that time, is that a phone call that was also memorialized in your recording that you did?
It was picked up on the recording, correct?
Okay. Now, for purposes of the jury's edification with respect to this, at the time that law enforcement is attempting to memorialize a conversation with a microphone, you're doing your best. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you would concede at times, sometimes those recordings can become fuzzier and a bit muffled.
Yes, that's correct.
But your role is to always make that attempt to get that recording.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, Your Honor, just so it's clear for the jury, the defense is aware of this, that we will be jumping ahead past. Okay, sorry. It's been already previously redacted, that portion where there's a phone call, because there's a competing conversation throughout the phone call. Your Honor, at this time, I guess the conclusion of the call, we're going to be stopping the call right now at 38:14. The rest of the information in there is just the phone call and then the wrap-up with respect to it. So for purposes of this, that was the conclusion of the interview. Sergeant Ehrenstein, as you're there on the stand, you've had the opportunity, I believe, to listen to the recording, what you could hear of it?
What I could hear of it, yes.
Okay. With respect to that plexiglass, you could hear most of it, or you're familiar with the interview?
I'm familiar with the interview.
You had also reviewed it before testifying here today?
I have.
Okay, so you're aware of the content. Now, with regard to this first initial interview with Jim Prokopovitz, this isn't the only interview that you participate in with him, is that correct?
It is not.
Oh, this interview occurred back in 2013 within, I guess, the day that she was reported by Mr. Prokopovitz?
Within hours.
Okay. Through that time frame, after that first time, you yourself are now in an interview with Mr. Prokopovitz. There are multiple interviews that occur with him through the years?
That's correct.
And this is an investigation, as you indicated, started out as a missing person. At some point, did part of that investigation and the tenor of it change?
It did.
Now, when you first are interviewing Mr. Prokopovitz, do you have the opportunity to observe his demeanor?
I did.
And you didn't really know him, so at this time, when you're first meeting with him, would you agree that people do have different demeanors when they suffer traumatic events?
Of course, and based on my training experience, I recognize that. And I also recognize that the importance of getting a baseline when meeting with someone.
So with respect to you being aware of that in the course of your training and your experience in law enforcement, you're not there to judge anybody's demeanor, is that right?
I'm not. I'm just being observant because I understand that the keys and the details.
Okay. But a demeanor of an individual can be concerning or noteworthy if it's not something that's urgent. Would you agree?
Yes, I would.
Is it more important as well to be looking at the content of what somebody's telling you?
Content and context, especially when you're also viewing that in comparison with.
This is the phone that you were just referring to, or you were all speaking of in the interview?
Yes.
With respect to that, there was also a reference to a purse. I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 27. Do you recognize this?
I do.
And what is that?
It's a purse that Mr. Prokopovitch identified as belonging to his wife that was left behind.
Okay. And both of these items, in the course of the investigation, were taken into custody by the Brown County Sheriff's Department?
That's correct.
Now, at the time, law enforcement, and in this case, you've alluded to, gets a telephone. You are attempting to get information off of that to assist in any investigation?
That's correct.
Whether it's for a missing person or whether it's a different type of investigation?
That's correct.
As a result of that, you as a law enforcement officer, do you manually look at these items in order to get some of the information, but then pass it off for a full forensic analysis?
Yes, you heard me on the call there, manually manipulating the phone to try to get some sort of an idea of any recent context, things that I can utilize immediately to pursue. And then ultimately, further examine the devices, as well as any phone records that come in from the cell phone providers.
So in this case, was there something significant with the number of calls or lack of calls that you're finding on Vicky's phone?
Yes, there is.
What was it?
The lack thereof, I even verbalized that to Mr. Prokopovitch, that there did not appear to be any activity on the phone for a number of days prior to her disappearance. And Mr. Prokopovitch confirmed that she really doesn't have anyone that she communicates with.
Now, in that interview that was just played for the jury, there was a discussion then by the defendant about the fact that Victoria didn't have any good friends he thought she'd have been in touch with around that time. Is that right?
That is correct.
There was also a question posed to him about transportation and whether she had a car. Do you recall that?
I do.
also a conversation regarding whether or not she had a bicycle, to both of which he said no.
I'm going to object to leading. If she wants to, if the state wants to ask questions, she can ask questions, but she's leading the witness to answer yes and no.
I'm just laying the foundation for the follow-up, Your Honor.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Thank you. So at the time that you're having discussions with Mr. Prokopovitz, are there attempts to gain access of Victoria to any mode of transportation leaving her residence?
There is.
And what were those ways that you were making an inquiry about?
I was just thinking of any possibilities that would explain the current situation. And Mr. Prokopovitch indicated that there isn't anybody that would pick her up or anybody that she would go with. Mr. Prokopovitch indicated that she had no access to transportation, specifically a vehicle. Mr. Prokopovitch indicated that she had no access to any other type of transportation, like a bicycle.
And again, for purposes of that, is that important in determining her whereabouts and where she could be?
Yes, that in conjunction with the geographical location I find myself in, which is a rural area.
Now, you also were just talking about the telephone. As a result of receiving that telephone, did you follow up on any of the information on the phone with respect to phone numbers?
I did.
And what did you find?
I found that the phone had 41 contacts. I went through every single contact and made attempts to make contact with every single contact. What I quickly found is that there was a large number of contacts that were either out of service, out of date, or were businesses such as a grocery store or a pharmacy or something, or a bank. That left only a number of personal contacts. When reaching and speaking with those individuals on the personal contacts, I found it very telling that a number of these individuals hadn't communicated, were aware, knew Victoria Prokopovitch, but hadn't communicated with her in years, and in some instances in over a decade.
With regard to the information that you were gaining from Mr. Prokopovitz and others in that investigation, did it appear that Victoria had access to the internet?
No.
And did you also follow up with any taxi companies or any other transportation companies in the area?
Yes.
What did you do?
I requested a colleague of mine to make sure that any possible taxi or transportation companies be contacted, not only in Green Bay, which is located to the east of the township of Pittsfield, but also Shawano, which is located to the west of that area, both a number of miles away, with negative results.
And when you say negative results, that means that nothing related to Vicky?
There was no, correct, nothing related to Vicky. There was no information relating to anybody being picked up in that area by a company.
And we did hear from another witness, were there hospitals checked regarding her whereabouts?
There were.
Okay. Why is that significant?
We're looking to check any and all possible possibilities, whether it's hospitals or jails or transportation companies, family, friends. When I'm making contacts with these 41, whether it's a personal contact or a business, I'm notifying them of who I am, why I'm calling, who's missing, providing my contact information. I am trying to I'm trying to make available to as wide of an audience as possible that we have a Victoria Prokopovitch who is missing, and to provide any and all information that may be pertinent as to that disappearance.
And do you also have her entered as a missing person?
I do. She's entered into the state national crime databases, and subsequently her DNA is entered into the databases as well.
So after you have that initial contact with Mr. Prokopovitz, and again, that's on April 26th of 2013, do you have cause to conduct another interview with him in short time?
I have.
And do you recall when that occurred?
I had spoken with him. I briefly met with him a number of days later on May 2nd, but ultimately I scheduled another interview with him at the sheriff's office where I can have more control of recording and those kind of things, which occurred on July 30th of 2013.
Now, at that time, have there been some searches that have been conducted in reference to Victoria being missing?
There have.
Do you meet other members of the Prokopovitz family?
I do. I meet and speak with them, and I conduct a number of interviews and investigative work between the April interview with Mr. Prokopovitch and the July interview with Mr. Prokopovitch.
Now, we just heard Mr. Prokopovitz identify 3 children belonging to Victoria. What were their names?
It's Wesley Edges, Marsha Lords, and Stacy Deere.
Did you have contact with the children at all as well?
I did.
Now, at the time that you're conducting this investigation, do you also learn about who else is living in this house besides Victoria and Jim?
I do. One other individual.
Who is that?
It's Victoria's biological son, Wesley Edges.
And Wes, at that time, was Wes an adult?
He was.
Now, at some point, do you also, when we're referring to these searches, do you also have contact with Marsha Lawrence?
I do.
And is she one of the individuals that is assisting and kind of spearheading the searches for her mother?
She was very involved in organizing searches, and she was instrumental in being a contact with law enforcement should I need anything as far as a representative of the family. I think it's important in cases like this.
Prior to you doing this next interview in July of 2013, do you also participate in any of those searches?
I did.
Which ones did you participate in?
I organized and supervised and participated in a number of searches. I remember the very first one that I was present at would be that Sunday, so the 28th, and then there were countless searches that occurred after that, which I would have documented throughout the years. But that was the very first one that I participated in, knowing that law enforcement had responded and had conducted some canine searches the very next day, Saturday, the 27th, at the residence.
In any of those early searches that you conducted, supervised, or participated in, was Victoria Prokopovitz recovered?
She was not.
Your Honor, at this time, the state is going to be moving for the admission of exhibit number 58. Sergeant Ehrenstein, you indicated that there was another interview that occurred on July 30th of 2013. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
And where did that occur?
It occurred at the Brown County Sheriff's Office.
All right. And who participated in that interview?
So it was conducted by me, as well as a colleague of mine, Sergeant Jim Drudson.
And who were you interviewing?
We're interviewing Mr. James Prokopovitz.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 58. Does that appear to be a DVD consistent with that interview?
Yes, it does.
And that has the date on it?
Yes, it does.
And what was that date?
July 30th, 2013.
So that would have been approximately 3 months after your initial interview with Mr.
Yes,
Prokopovitz?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, the state would move for the admission of Exhibit 58. A copy had been previously provided to the defense in discovery.
No objection, Your Honor.
58 is admitted. How long is it?
It is 51 minutes.
All right, jurors, we'll take our morning recess then at this time. All rise. I think counsel needs off the record at this time.
Not at this time.
All right, take a 15-minute recess.
Thank you.